Hello, welcome along to the Rangers Rabble podcast. I've just turned the heating on in here and it's fucking roasting. Hello, I'm Martin. I'm joined by Cammy, Elaine and Jamie. Hello, guys. How are we?
Good evening.
You can see
Very
my
good,
missus in the background there. We're live on YouTube and Twitter. So if you're watching on YouTube, please do like and subscribe. I have to say that when I asked that the last time, we get so many likes and it really helps to share the video across YouTube. That's the only way now, apparently, to share if you're looking at some kind of analytical nonsense. If you're on Twitter as well, please do retweet and like. So we have hunters to talk about, and it's the international break. And the first thing we're going to talk about... Oh, hello to everybody watching as well. The first thing we're going to talk about that we're not going to give a lot of airtime to, Cammy, I'll start with you. Jim White decided it would be a good idea to go and interview a certain Mr. Charles Green, who received a payout of, I think it was $6.5 million for his wrongful talk shit about him claim.
Aye,
go on, give me some Charles Green chat.
And I've got to admit, I wouldn't give it the time of day. I never listened to it. I've got absolutely no interest in what Charles Green said. Unfortunately, he was part of our past, and just forget about him. He's just full of nonsense. You know, he just I blame Jim White and TalkSport for continuing to pander to him. You know, I've got no interest in. You get the gist of it on Twitter that he approached Steven Gerrard's wife and slipped her his business cards as he was that was his tapping up to get the gaffer in 2013. You know, I mean, honest to goodness, I mean, how can Jim White actually converse with a clown like that? You know, it's just I've nothing really to say. Charles Green took a lot of money out of our club allegedly, and you know, just forget about him.
I know, and it's a shame that, Jamie, when you do a podcast or you're part of fan media or you're anything to do with Rangers and you talk about what's in the Rangers news, William McMillan, the past, leave him there. You need to kind of highlight this because he's been paid $6.5 million. Was it for defamation or some nonsense?
How can it be defamation against a guy who's an absolute yahoo? He's a fuckwit. Like his stories, it's a Walter Mitty stuff, but he's living in a castle in France, right? So there's something somewhere. There's Martin's like pulling his hair out because I've just said that about Charles Green. But he's an absolute Walter Mitty.
That's his lawyer.
But no, he is, and it's like I agree with Cammy. Like TalkSport are that type of radio station. Jim White's pandering to him. Jim White's at his mates at TalkSport. Wait and see this guy. This is comedy gold. This is what people listen. People talk about it. People laugh at this. But it still feels like a bit of a laugh at our expense. So that's the kind of annoying thing about it. But I agree, don't give me time of day. It's embarrassing. Part of our past I've boxed away and I don't like talking about, as I've said before.
Can I just quickly, one thing we spoke about when we spoke about this yesterday, before Elaine comes in, I actually have an issue with the fact that Rangers gave TalkSport, Simon Jordan, Jim White access to Ibrox prior to the Old Firm game. Now, do we have a contractual arrangement with TalkSport? How did they get that access? And then a matter of weeks later, they've got somebody who basically shat on our football club, spouting nonsense. You know, so I'll criticise TalkSport and I'll criticise Jim White, but Rangers, what's going on with the whole media situation? That's a different conversation.
Well, listen, that's a podcast on its own. Elaine, shall we move on for Charles Green?
Quickly, yes. I don't think I can add much more than these guys.
I don't really think there has to be much more said. We've brought it up. We've said what the guy's got. The guy can now go back to his castle and pretty much just get to fuck.
Money.
Right, so Elaine, for the Rangers Hibs, There's not even. It's been a while now. There's
Where
no
to
point in
start?
discussing the game. But we've all discussed the Ryan Porteous tackle. That I mean, right? Let's just deal with this straight away, right? We've all got biases, right? We're all biased towards Rangers. Of course we are. We're Rangers supporters. But see if that tackle, if Porteous does that tackle on Kyogo, on McGregor, or whoever their kit man is, I don't even know his name. I'm sorry, each one of us on this podcast will turn around and go, that's a shocking challenge, that's a straight red card. Has it got to the point now with Scottish football that, and we have spoke about this before, but the hatred within Scottish football is really, really starting to kill it, because you've got people like Tam McManus, who's paid for his opinion. You've got people like Hugh Keevins, who are paid for their opinion, who make this a talking point. That challenge every other single day on any other player in any other team in any other league is a straight red card.
Yeah, no, I think you're totally right. Unfortunately, it's too much of a Glasgow or Scottish football in general is just a goldfish bowl, and we just you'll always get bias, and you'll always get people who can't see past their team or what they think. To be honest, I'm kind of going to go slightly maybe against the grain here. I was at the game, and actually at first I didn't think it was a red card, and the only reason for that was because I almost kind of, it just kind of came from nowhere, almost missed it, and I didn't actually think that he'd made contact. And at the time we were sitting thinking, okay, but where I massively benefited was afterwards, and you see people who are totally neutral, and especially I think Sky Sports had the ex-referee, was it Dermot Gallagher, they had on explaining exactly.
Big Celtic fan.
Exactly, and explaining exactly why. And actually, to be fair, when I was looking at back, you can see various angles. I mean, there's one angle that is terrible, and I think actually Jack Ross was probably pretty fair in saying he could understand it. Certainly from my point of view as well, when you see all the everyone coming out, or the people who don't have a sort of an allegiance to the club, when you see them coming out and saying, actually, fair enough. I mean, I think Barry Bannon was another one on Twitter who initially was saying, I will see this, and then he came out and said it's a red card. Yeah, it's just that there are too many people that cannot see past their own allegiance. I can't believe that we're still genuinely discussing
That's
that there
crazy.
might be some sort of conspiracy.
That's crazy.
It is nuts. I do think as well, in terms of, there's no conspiracy. I think we could go on about referees all day. I think the level generally is quite poor, but I don't think we can get sucked into thinking that there's genuinely a bias towards any team. And unfortunately, there's a lot of people that can't quite see that.
And look, we're going to actually come and discuss that shortly, because I think that's something that really does need to be discussed, the pressure that referees are under. And look, maybe we've been guilty in the past of maybe going overboard with referees, but we will come and discuss that, Cammy. In fact, Jamie, if I let you speak yet, have you spoke?
Nah, I've spoken enough anyway.
Right, okay, that's plenty. Cammy.
The lawyer's on the phone.
Well, yes, the whole shebang in Scotland is becoming poisonous and it's being cranked up. Now, that's the point I want to get to. Is there going to come a point where we just have to say, pack it up, let's forget it, let's just cancel football? Because every single week there's going to be something that you're going to get on Clyde or some football phone in that it's just becoming absolute chaos.
I think it always happens in games where they think the team playing against Rangers has a chance, and they are disappointed that the result goes our way. What frustrates me is you've got people that are paid, a la Willie Miller on Radio Scotland, etc. They don't even know the rules. They look at then somebody points out the rules to them, and they don't like the rules. It's just
I think that was what Michael Stewart was saying as well, wasn't it? Was that he said, fair enough. When the rules were presented to him, he said, yeah, but that's a stupid rule. And said, well,
I know,
but it is the rule.
Somebody said to me about, imagine you got stopped by the police and you were speeding, and you said, listen, mate, that's not. I don't agree with that speed limit.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? It's just Scottish football is just becoming. It's getting worse and worse. We're in a situation where the Old Firm game, we're fast forwarding here. Old Firm game, 2nd of January, is the last game before the international, the winter break. Right? So you can almost predict already, and if Rangers get a result that day, you're going to have exactly the same situation. Next November, you've got a World Cup. They'll probably schedule an Old Firm game as the last game for 6 weeks, so we're going to have more of it. It's just an absolute joke, and there's very few people in the media up here cover themselves. I mean, I thought James McFadden, I seen clips of James McFadden talking about it, and McFadden was fairly was fair. I find generally he is pretty fair, but Tam McManus and the failed trialist and all the guys, you know what I mean?
I thought, see, to be honest, Gammy, I thought that the failed trialist was wasn't as forthright as he usually is. Maybe his pocket's been hit recently, and maybe he's starting to understand.
But it's interesting, Jamie, that he never said anything for 10 days. And then he just appears, I mean, I've not got a lot of time for him, but you're quite right. But the if Rangers had lost that game or drawn that game, there wouldn't have been the same furore. It's the fact that we've dug out 3 points. We are still top of the league. That is what people don't like.
It's only getting peddled. It's getting peddled from one side. This is all coming from one side, and it's coming from a fact that this never happened when Rangers were getting beaten. Dembele was Dembelishing time, and he was scoring hat-tricks against us, and decisions were going all over the place. Nobody cared because Celtic were winning and were winning the league. It's all flipped in its head now, and Rangers are starting to win a league. Now it's a referee's conspiracy. Now it's crazy. I mean, Rangers have had something like that's right. This could be wrong, right? But Rangers, what I'm reading here, right? I tried to do a bit of I seen who I was coming on with, so I thought I better do a bit of research. So from what I see from 2016, 2017, Rangers have had 35 penalties. Celtic have had 33. Now, this thing, penalty to Rangers, is a big thing that goes all over the internet as soon as we get a penalty. There's not a big difference here, is there? Rangers have been saying, Rangers have had 19 red cards. Celtic have had 10. Is that not the opposite? So there's a conspiracy theory here. But to be honest, this came off a guy called Trigger on Twitter, right? So it could be a lot of shit. But it's only became a problem in the last. I know some level-headed people who, in the last couple of days, are howling at the moon and talking about conspiracy theories. Something we will never talk about. I'm not interested in talking about. But it's also been a very big deflection tactic again this week and a big week. And this always happens.
I think as well, just to pick up on what you were saying in terms of the refs, there's a huge outcry this week, absolutely. But there wasn't the same outcry last week when over in the East End there should have been a penalty and a red card. Didn't happen. Went Celtic's way. These things happen. I think Hibs St Johnstone, dodgy penalty call again. There was maybe a couple of things said about it, but all that. I think my point would be bad decisions get made across. This wasn't actually a bad decision, and the funny thing is that actually the ref was spot on. It's been appealed, still thrown out. You've got people left, right, and centre who are actual referees saying no. So there shouldn't be an issue over this anyway. But there are other decisions that are actually bad decisions, that are wrong decisions, that aren't getting anywhere near the same level of scrutiny. And I think that's I don't necessarily think it's concerning. At the end of the day, it is what it is. We all know that our games will get a certain level of scrutiny, whatever. But when right decisions are getting more scrutiny than wrong decisions, it doesn't really make sense to me. And I think it just sums Scottish football up in a nutshell.
And Elaine, that's a point, and I'll take it back to you. And I tweeted this out, and I think I actually put it in the thumbnail for the pod, and then I changed it once we found out that the appeal, which we'll come to, wasn't successful. Is this not just getting really tiring now for the Rangers support? I understand. Listen, I'm all one for slagging Celtic when they get beat or they draw, or I'm all one for saying, by the way, they shouldn't have got that penalty, but they got it and be angry at the time, blah, blah, blah. But is it not just getting tiring now that it's every week it's something, it's all week on the phone-ins, it's all over social media. If they lose, it's because of a conspiracy. If we win, it's because of a conspiracy. And listen, I am not sitting here for 1 minute saying that it's just them that have an issue. There is plenty of Rangers fans out there who go over the score, over the board, make nonsense up. But just and the whole general feeling around Scottish football, is it not just getting boring now?
Yeah, do you know, I think it is. I think it's tiring. I think it's, to be fair, I think sometimes we do play up to the no one likes us, we don't care, bit of aggro. But I just sometimes think, why is it always us? Why is it always us that there's got to be some sort of storm about? For example, kind of backtracking a wee bit, but we touched on the media stuff, and then all the stuff that came out with the podcasters and historic tweets and everything. That was very much only a Rangers issue. And it was certainly something that I know that we spoke about, because it was before I had come on, and you were saying, do I want to consider or reconsider coming on because of the various things with that. And I do think, and of course I'm biased, but I do think that that's slightly concerning, is it does seem to always be Rangers. And we know ourselves, we've acknowledged that there are parts of the club that absolutely could do better. There's parts of the fan base that sometimes could do better. We're absolutely not perfect. But by and large, the majority of our fans, the majority of people I know through the football are absolutely spot on, are really good guys. And it just seems like it's controversy after controversy, and it's always Rangers. And to be honest, there are times where I just think, I would never be done with it. I love the club too much. I love going to the games. It's too big a part of my life, but it is tiring, and it's just the environment of Scottish football at the moment.
And can I just say, I'm going to bring this onto the media and then onto the red card and then onto the appeal, because we do have loads to talk about. But if you want that slightly biased Rangers coverage, then and you want to help support us as we aim to become part of fan media. See what I've done there? See how I've segued this into Patreon advertisement? Then you can sign up to our Patreon. Link is in the description. It's patreon.com/Rangers Rabble, where you will get extra shows as well. For that, it's £2 a month, and it will really go a long way to help us. Me and Jamie done the best of the rest, and we thought it was going to be rubbish, and it turned out to be amazing, if I do say so myself. Cammy's and Kerr have just recorded the EPL show. We've got Bassoonist Revolution. We've got videos as well on Old Rangers tops, loads of stuff. Elaine hasn't contributed yet because she's lazy, but she will. So
I'll get a finger out eventually.
If you want to help us out and you want to help support the Rabble and help us become a huge part of Rangers fan media, then please do click the link in the description, and £2 a month, less than coffee. Right, Cammy, the media in all this, field trialist Tam McManus. I'm not going to pretend that I listen to Super Scoreboard all the time. I maybe listen to wee snippets here and there. I certainly don't listen to BBC through the week or whatever. But has the media got to be held to account here? Because, sorry.
Yes.
Sorry. And the Academy pod as well. The Academy pods are released on Patreon 24 hours before they do become available. It's Willie Irwin in the comments. He will knock me out if I don't point that out. So Willie goes to all the Academy games. It's fantastic as well. So
what else is good, Martin? The website is fantastic.
The website, Billy's going to kill me. Rangersrabble.co.uk. Of course, the website where you get blogs, podcasts, a youth section. We're bringing out a forum. Have I missed anything?
I didn't even know about half this stuff anyway. Great, I'll sign up.
What do you mean you don't know? Shocking behaviour.
Martin didn't even know there was articles then. He didn't know any of this stuff.
No, I mean, I forgot we had a website, but he was going to kill me. Right, sorry, Cammy, the media. Has somebody got to hold the media to account for the simple fact, right? You can't always prove. You can't prove bias sometimes because these people are smart at what they do. But this whole Porteous tackle thing has kind of just pushed me over the edge a wee bit, simply because if you were to look back through time about them talking about decisions and you came to that exact same tackle, every single other time there's been a tackle like that, this would have been the analysis. Oh, that was a straight red.
There's no consistency. It's like all we want as Rangers supporters is fair and honest reporting and coverage. You know, I mean, it's just what I said to people after the game. If Alfredo Morelos makes that challenge, the Scottish government and Nicola Sturgeon would probably have got involved in it. That's how laughable the situation. The boy on Sunday makes a rash tackle and gets a deserved red card.
That's pretty much it.
That is it. See, by the time you get to Monday morning, it should be like forgotten about. You know, it's done. Rangers win the 3 points. That's it. Hibs were in a good position. He's rash. He basically puts his teammates and his manager into a dodgy position. And that's it. Rangers fight back, get 2 goals in the second half. Bish, bash, bosh, 3 points. We're top of the league. Let's go and enjoy the international break. Instead, we're on Wednesday and they're still talking about it. It's just... and I don't see it changing. But it's almost like Rangers are like clickbait. Rangers make these radio stations, Talk Sport, Radio Clyde, all the various newspapers up here. It's all clickbait. It's all sensationalism, and it's just. But it's not even-handed. Not every club is not treated the same way, and it pisses me off greatly. Sorry for swearing, but it really does.
Aye, and I mean, look, Jamie, see if you were to look through the years, right? Smaller teams come to Ibrox, they go to Parkhead. Of course, Rangers and Celtic probably get the more favourable decisions, if you like. They get the most penalties because they have most of the ball. They do most of the attacking. So I'm really struggling to accept the hysteria over this tackle. My brain can't process why it's now Wednesday. The game was on Sunday, and we're still talking about it. The reason we're still talking about it, right? And please answer me this: why did Hibs appeal it?
And they're playing to the gallery, aren't they? They're playing to the crowd because Jack Ross was not convincing in his assessment of whether it should have been a sending off or not. But there was such a furore behind the whole thing that they've went like, we're going to appeal this. I don't think that appeal even got opened because that's the quickest appeal I've ever heard coming back straight up this morning. That's it. No appeal's done. So they should never have appealed it, but they're playing at the gallery. Hibs fans are getting encouraged to get puppet masters playing with them, and they back onto it. Straight red. I thought the good one that no one noticed was Scott Allen's reaction because he was like that. He was like that right away because he's seen how probably committed how fast he went. And if you're getting in that fast and sliding along the ground with a straight leg, people are like, "Oh no, what are you doing?" You've seen the fans at the opposite end that seen it from the worst camera angle. They were all on their feet going mad. So Nick Ross seen it for the ref. He's seen it for the same. Nick Walsh, he's seen it for the same angle as Scott Allen. Had no hesitations. I think Ross said it in the match reactions. Probably the best thing Ross has ever said. That was serious. Was what a pick for the ref. And there's you can't complain, but that's an absolutely fantastic piece of refereeing. Yet here we are now. Listen, you're moaning about it, Martin. We're talking about it now at 7:30 on Wednesday night. We're still talking about it. But for the broadcasters and all that, it gives them something to talk about. Because see, if you don't talk about that, it's probably been a pretty quiet week, to be honest, other than that tackle. Because Celtic get themselves a win. Angie's doing a half Ronnie Rower. We get a win. Gerrard's celebrating. And that's really it. Nothing's really happening. We've done the best of the rest of the games for shite this week. But Ryan Porteous gets sent off. Let's jump on that. It gives them something to speak about for a week.
Jamie,
Sorry, Gary.
Jamie, is Nick Ross the guy that used to present Crime Watch? Is that no?
Well, fuck, he'll be next to get involved.
Is that
If
where
this
the
continues-
tackle? That's where the tackle should have been.
Aye.
Sorry,
On you,
Elaine.
Elaine, sorry.
No, I was just going to say it's the knock-on effect as well, because you touched
Yeah.
on it, Martin, about referees and the pressure that they're under. And the thing is that the pressure that they're under is immense. And yes, it's split decision, split second decisions, but that has to be playing on their mind. It has to be, when you get a big game and you know that if you give a penalty or a red card, that actually that is all that's going to be spoken about. That has to have some sort of impact. As you can be as professional as you like, but this level of scrutiny, and say it again, but over a correct decision,
It's crazy.
that's absolutely nuts, and it's gonna surely that's a detriment to our game as well, because I couldn't blame referees. You touched on it before, the fact that we do all go overboard if we don't get a decision and whatever, but you couldn't blame referees for saying, do you know what, nah, I'm out, because it's too much, and the hysteria is nuts.
Cammy, referees. Look, we all moan, we all complain. Let's not be hypocritical here. But let me just ask you this question. I know that there'll be a lot of people that won't like your answer either way, so I'm putting you on the spot, right? Is there a single referee in Scotland who is purposely biased? Cammy's froze because he shot himself out the question. Jamie.
He was going to say Clancy, wasn't he? I was absolutely going to say Clancy, wasn't he? I'm sure he was.
But Jamie, on a serious note,
seriously,
because let's talk about this seriously, right? Is there a referee in Scotland who is purposely biased against any team?
No, they're humans, they make mistakes. So I've seen a lot of shit on Twitter again this week about you should be presenting who you support before you become a referee and all this crap. Like, come on, this is a pure Glasgow Goldfish Bowl mentality. These guys are out to do a job. These guys want to get to the peak. They want to referee in World Cups. They want to do Champions League finals. They don't get there by being biased. They don't get there by making mistakes either. So it's about want to be maybe it's to go down the professional route. Make these guys full time. I don't know if we're going to talk about VAR. That's next in line. Does that even help? Because it's still a human being controlling that on the other side anyway, making a decision. But I don't think they're purposefully biased. No, but people are going to say, yeah, they are, because you're Rangers fans, you're saying that because you're getting all the decisions. We're only getting a lot of these decisions because we create these decisions. We create a team to give a penalty. We create somebody to foul us to make a yellow card or a red card because we're attacking. That's why we create it. It's no Rangers' fault.
Yeah, Cammy, referees purposely biased. Honestly, mate, they're not, right? We always have a go at Kevin Clancy and Willie Collum, right? Maybe we're part of the problem as well, right? Kevin Clancy and Willie Collum are poor referees, right? Genuinely, they're poor referees. And people might slag me here, and Cammy, please come in. I genuinely don't think Kevin Clancy goes to start a game and goes, how can I get Celtic the 3 points a day? I just don't think that happens.
I don't think he does. I just think they're poor officials. I think he manages to make an arse of it during the game, but I don't think at the start of the game he goes out premeditated to basically influence the game. I mean, I thought the guy on Sunday didn't have a bad game, to be perfectly honest with you. I think to make a decision like that, from my seat in the club deck, my reaction was, oof, that's a bit a rash challenge. He's went in a bit fast. He's watching it for 4 or 5 yards away. I think he's communicating with his linesman, and within 10 seconds of the tackle and the sort of break, he's pulled the red card out, and spot on. And it's like, I think Elaine spoke about Dermot Gallagher. Dermot Gallagher analysed it on Monday morning on Sky Sports News within 10 seconds. And he was like, this is the right decision, boom, 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 and that's it. But to get back to your original point, the referees, the standard isn't great, but there's no bias at all. There's poor decisions made for Rangers, for Celtic, for Hibs, for St Johnstone. Every club suffers, but it's only Rangers that it's magnified and dragged out for days and days and days.
Yeah, and like I say, Elaine, look, we're going to maybe try and move on and talk about Rangers, you know. But just finally, then on the refs, I'm seeing loads of people in the comments saying, "Look, they're part-time. Should we have full-time refs make a difference?" I've seen refs in England make absolute shocking decisions. I don't know how much the part-time, full-time thing comes into it, but
Martin, we were talking on the EPL show earlier on about the Liverpool Man City
where
game.
can people hear that? Where can people hear that?
They can hear that on Patreon for £2 a month. It's I'm on it every week with Care, and it's top class. It's worth the £2 just for the EPL show.
Don't need to say any more than that.
Liverpool Man City. James Milner's playing right back. He's on a yellow card. Fouls him. Doesn't get a second yellow card. Second half, same thing happens again. He doesn't get a second yellow card. Pep Guardiola is doing his absolute dinger. There's VAR, there's fourth officials, there's and they still get the decision wrong. So VAR doesn't change the fact that referees can still make an arse yet. The people that are controlling the VAR can still make a mess of it. Now imagine up here you've got Willie Collum refereeing the game and you've got Kevin Clancy controlling VAR. Honest to goodness, can you imagine it?
Just before we go on, CGM, if I sign up for Patterson, will you stop going on about it? I think obviously you mean Patreon there. CGM, I won't go on about it as much if you sign up for Patreon, but I will still go on about it. I'm not going to sit here and lie, but sign up for it anyway. £2 a month. It's great.
I've got some signed Patterson tops and some signed Patterson prints. If he's interested, just contact me after the show.
Oh, I swear to God,
there's a plug.
You have no shame. You have no shame. Elaine, so referees going forward, how much pressure now? Is this what this is all about? Putting pressure on referees so that, like what the guys have mentioned, it comes to the Old Firm game, you know, a ball goes in off a Celtic striker's hand and it gets given. That doesn't get spoke about. But how much pressure now is there going to be on referees in the coming weeks?
Oh, massive pressure, but also I would go as far to say potentially too much pressure because, you know, a lot of the referees have been about for a good while. We're looking at the Scottish game. You need new referees coming through all the time, and who in their right mind signing up to this? Who's looking at this and looking at this week and the scrutiny they're under and thinking, do you know what, I want a bit of that. Probably not that many folk. So I think the scrutiny is just the next level. It's too much, and I still don't think potentially subconsciously it may impact decisions. I would agree with the guys. I don't think there's any sort of bias from any referees. There's not one referee that I would say yea or nay for any team. I do think the quality of referee at times can be poor, but I'm also, I know VAR is a whole other, you know, that's a whole other podcast as well, because we could talk all day about that. I'm not convinced that that's going to be a massive help up here. If they do it here the way they've done it in England, I think it would be a shambles, and I think it would be detrimental to the game. But that said, if they use it like it was in the Euros, which was slightly more successful, maybe that is what the referees need, because the pressure on them is just enormous.
Can you imagine? Let me put a scenario to you. Rangers are playing Hibs at Ibrox. Ryan Porteous puts in a shocking challenge on Aribo. Right? Let's just run with this, Jamie.
I cannot imagine this.
Right? Honest to God, I know it seems unfathomable. I can't even say that word. So anyway, Ryan Porteous puts in a shocking challenge on Joe Aribo. The ref walks up, red card. We've got VAR. Let's just say it overturns it. It doesn't overturn it. The outcry in the rest of Scotland, if it didn't go the way that certain people wanted it to, would be ridiculous.
Well, it shouldn't be, because that's the whole point of having VAR.
Sorry, my point, Jamie, then would be, is Scotland too toxic for VAR?
Perhaps. I'm not interested in VAR, to be honest. I think I know we're saying this, I think we've got a cracking product, and I know that we don't get paid for it, but since I've started watching some of these games, I know it was shite this week, but some of the football teams are trying to play up here is decent. And I know it gets slagged. I'd rather watch Scottish football than English football any day of the week. I know Sunday was a bit of an exception. That was a cracking game, but I'm not interested in VAR. And I think you're probably right. I think it is too toxic. They wouldn't accept regardless. Porteous gets a red. It doesn't get overturned. We are still in the same scenario we are just now, saying that VAR doesn't work. Who's working VAR? Brother, who works VAR? Do you know what I mean? This is where it's going to go down. So it doesn't. VAR won't change it. I'm not interested in VAR. I don't want these millimetre offside decisions and stuff like that. Martin, we're in a situation where there's Rangers supporting fans for a laugh on Twitter, cutting Ruth out and photoshopping 2 yards in front, and Celtic fans are jumping on it and retweeting it and all sharing it with each other, saying, "Look, he's 2 yards offside," and they're jumping on anything they can. It's ridiculous.
And somebody shared that. I don't know what podcast it was, because I genuinely don't watch, and it's nothing against the guys. I don't watch any Celtic podcasts. I know some Rangers fans do. I don't, right? And it's nothing to do with the guys personally. I'm just really not interested. But apparently there was a Celtic podcast, quite a big one, who came out and said it's all a conspiracy now. We need to do something about that. So, and you add that into the mix, and they're obviously a lot bigger than us in terms of numbers, and people follow them and stuff like that. So it's just absolutely fucking mental. And then you add that in, Cammy, and then you add VAR on top of that. I mean, I don't know where Scottish football would go. And like Jamie says, we have a good product in this country.
Aye, I've no interest at all in VAR. I'd keep it as far away from Scottish football as possible. It's it's not going to change. It's not going to change the landscape at all. So money could be better spent on other things that are needed within Scottish football, in my opinion.
That's where I think it won't land, because you're talking about, well, I don't know if it's 2 million or something like that, whatever it is. Scottish football can't afford it, to be honest, unless someone comes in and subsidises it or deals with it for them, because these other clubs will need to put their hands in their pockets for it, and it's not going to happen. And how far down does it go? Does it go down as far as Livy, or is it in the SPL only, then Championship it's not? Like, not only cup games, or is it the quarterfinals onwards? No, thank you. Not until the whole department, the whole place can afford it.
And by the way, can I just also say before we carry on that this will never become one of those podcasts where we will come out and tweet something saying they're against us, this is a conspiracy, this is that. This will I will always be as honest as I possibly can. Do you know what? We might be playing Celtic and we might get a decision that goes against us, and it's right to go against us, and I don't agree with it. That's fair enough, right? But Linda Ross is saying, you couldn't pay me to watch a Celtic podcast. Well, Linda, you can pay to listen and watch a Rangers podcast. If you sign up to the Rangers Rabble on Patreon, link is in the description, £2 a month, loads of content, you'll love it. And can I also just say, for everybody watching on YouTube, where Match Reaction got over 150 likes, and it really, really, really helped with spreading the podcast. The views went through the roof. So everybody watching, please, could you give us a like? It's very much appreciated. And subscribe. We're getting so close to the 3,000 subscriber mark. Right, Elaine, let's talk about Rangers, shall we? I mean, that's been 38 minutes, and I don't really think we've spoke much about Rangers. Did the international break come at the perfect time?
Do you know, possibly, do you know, hindsight will be a great thing. I'm not actually sure that it did, because I'm not a fan of international breaks anyway. I think that was a great result for us. I mean, the atmosphere on Sunday was absolutely buzzing at the end of the game. You could see what it meant to Gerrard. We're all hoping that this is what kickstarts the season. We're hoping that this is the one that, you know, kind of sends the team on. And actually, I'm not 100% sure it is the right time for it is a lucky time for an international break, because I think you want to take that momentum and go. And I think you want to push on from that, get the next game, keep it going. And you hope that that is a result that we can turn from. I mean, potentially you saw Ryan Jack looked as if he's back in training today. Obviously, we're hoping Ryan Kent's going to be back after the international break. But we're kind of just over a few injuries, and we're kind of just over a bit of COVID issues. And now we've got people left, right and centre. Again, going back to play for their international teams. To be honest, I'm not 100% sure it's come at a great time for us. Hearts will be the test, but I would have quite liked Hearts to have been this week and to really kind of be pushing on from there.
Can I just say the reason that my camera is turning off, it's not so I can have a smoke in my smoky pen, I promise. Jamie, international break for yourself. Did we need it?
Nah, I'm not interested. I'm just now sitting hoping we get everybody to come back from unscathed and ready to go. I don't know if Gerrard would have celebrated so wildly and so like with a bit of relief if the international break. It's almost like a bit of like, right, people. He will know we're getting it, not doubted, because we're top of the league. We're 6 clear, we're top of the league. But our performances maybe haven't been the best, and we've had to grind out most of our wins this season. So maybe that's why he was celebrating a bit more wildly. Or was it, right, we've got a break now, let's go after the break, a bit of a celebration. So yeah, I'm not a fan of it. I just want everybody to come in. Boy, I just want everybody to come back fit. That's my only concern now.
Right, CGM. Is it so you can check your hair? I thought my hair was looking all right tonight. Nobody had mentioned my hair. I mean, it's nearly as long as Elaine's, but I mean, it's still, I would say that looks quite pretty. Cammy, international break, not the international break itself with regards to Scotland. We will slightly touch on that with regards to a certain Mr. Patterson. But for these Rangers players, we haven't made the greatest start to the season in terms of performances. We've had some injuries. It's been mentioned, Kent, Jack. This will give other people just a wee bit of a break, time to rejuvenate. So is that a positive we can take for this, or would you rather on the back of that Hibs win just keep going?
I can totally agree with what the guys have said. I can see both sides of it. My biggest worry about this international break is that players return healthy. We lost Hadji the last time. Obviously with COVID, we don't want anything similar with regard to that. I think see the likes of Lundstrom. You know, Lundstrom's been in fine form the last 3 or 4 games, and I think he touched on it in the post-match presser. He doesn't want an international break. He wants to. He probably wanted a game on Monday because he's playing well. He's knocking it about sort of situation. So it's a bit of yes and no. I'm not as anti international break as I usually am, but I think it will allow a wee bit of recharge of the batteries, try to regroup. Those that have maybe been impacted by COVID as well, just to get themselves a bit more training. The likes of Morelos isn't, as we speak, away with Colombia. I think he still needs a wee bit of sharpness. I still think the lack of a pre-season is, although he's contributing, I think he certainly contributed on Sunday. I hope that he gets a few training sessions under his belt just to get that sharpness so that he can go on a run of games and score 4 or 5 goals over the next 3 or 4 games, you know. And I mean, Morelos, his next goal's his 100th for Rangers, you know. So I hope he gets that against Hearts. But we just want everybody back on the 16th, fit and healthy.
Very, very quick question from M. Elaine, if you can confirm, not deny. Is Elaine sitting in her bathroom?
Absolutely not.
That would be the biggest bathroom I've ever seen in my life. But Elaine, I'll take this to you because this is the other side of the coin. Of course, you get that rest for some players. Balogun is a major concern going to play with Nigeria. If something happens to him, we are in the soup. That is, of course, the major worry. Barisic, Davis. I don't know if Roof's going with Jamaica. I don't know if Jamaica are playing, but Balogun.
Because Bassey's away as well. So because Bassey's away with Balogun, and obviously the issue there being if there's some sort of COVID issue in that camp, that could really scupper us. I'm a big fan of Balogun this season. I think he's won me over. I remember getting a text or getting the team through before the Old Firm game, and I called my mum and said it's a disaster, absolute disaster. It was absolute. I just thought him at right back. This is it. All doom and gloom. I thought he had an absolutely fantastic game. I think there's no doubt that whilst Hollander's out, he has to be, Goldson and him have to be the pairing. There is no, to me, there's no other pairing until Hollander's back. So yeah, that's a big concern. But by all means, you know, they're getting game time, can't stop them playing for their country. It's probably, you know, it's up there with obviously one of the things that is hugely important to them. But if they all go away, have a great international break, come back healthy and fit, happy days. If they don't, then we'll all be cursing it.
Well, yeah. There was a comment, actually, Jamie. It's for Chris Stewart. You can't win things without a team full of internationals. It's the chance you take. I know that, obviously, there's a lot of people who say international football, don't care about it, not interested. But, of course, the players will be. And it's like Chris has said, it's a chance you take. They've got to go and play international football.
Yeah. It's they're like the rest is. They've got I don't know about you, Martin, but they've got a CV. Football players have CVs, and those CVs are, if you're an international player, that's added to your CV, so it's looked at a different level. That could command a different salary cap. Your contract could say, if I become an international player, I get a 10% increase, all that kind of stuff. So it's massive for them. So yes, and I've seen that even Acuna's away playing for like Caracal, something like that, and it's like we Bassey and Balogun going away at the same time is giving me the fear, because we don't have anyone else for anything to happen there. Like Elaine said, that's the one I'm really worried about, to be fair. But yeah, it's good to have your players internationals, but I think you also need a good. We've got some solid players there that aren't internationals, which you get your Tavs, Goldsons, McGregor. You've got a solid people in there as well who aren't international. That's where I think Rangers have always been good at using the kind of English market as well. Getting some decent English players who are never going to make the English team, but they're still solid for us, and they don't go away.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Just before I come to Patterson, I put a question out last night on Twitter. I don't know if any of you've seen it. Elaine's laughing, so I think she's seen it. And the question was, Cammy, and do you know what? I'll come to each of you. I'm not really a big fan of James Bond. I've probably seen, I think the last James Bond film I've seen, I think Pierce Brosnan was playing James Bond.
You're missing out.
So,
you could play James Bond by me with that here.
Look by the way, I don't
that was
think
a joke.
anybody out there realises just how hot this is. But anyway, so there's obviously going to be a new James Bond. So I put a simple question out there. Cammy, I'll start with you. What Rangers player in that team would make the best Bond? Just a wee bit of a light-hearted, jovial chat during the international break.
Hashtag shit question.
I think that was actually my response when he put that on Twitter last night. Rangers player? No, it's got to be the gaffer. Steven Gerrard as James Bond. Undoubtedly.
Elaine?
I was more interested in you saying who would make the Bond villain. I think.
Oh, Manelos.
I think Barisic fits right into that role. Various reasons, but I think Barisic has that one covered.
Jamie, I know you've got a cracking answer up your sleeve.
No, I've no answer. Was when I seen that tweet, I was thinking, oh my god, he's really bored. We need to get the Fitbit back on. That is one of the worst tweets I've ever seen.
This is what international break does to us.
Exactly. That's what was my thoughts. I don't actually care.
Do you know what? The response I had on Twitter for that was really good for a hashtag.
I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it.
Anyway, Curry Muncher, Gaffer all day, Shagger would be the villain. I would watch that film. I would absolutely watch that film. Right, Nathan Patterson, obviously away with Scotland. I seen something today, and we'll finish on this quickly, and then we'll move on to the Red Zones. Jamie, is there even a question about who plays at right back for Scotland?
Absolutely not. And I think the times now came. I don't even think Clark's that stupid. So I firmly think that Patterson will be playing. Cammy?
100%. Listen, he's only going to get better and better, and I think he showed that on Sunday. You know, wasn't his best game, but that kid's gone right to the top. We will make a shed load of money when Nathan Patterson leaves Rangers, hopefully in a few years' time.
Sorry, I'd seen that one of the websites, I don't know who it was on Twitter, they were talking about Man United looking for a new right back, and Patterson's picture.
I know what said you would talk
was
about
there.
everything, but no. That was nonsense. Absolute nonsense. Man U is rubbish. He's absolutely rubbish. Elaine, is there any small part of you that thinks that Stephen O'Donnell can get picked over Patterson?
Honestly, yes. Not based on anything, but yeah. I would, to be honest, I would be surprised if Patterson plays, not based on ability, but I would be surprised if he plays. I thought it was quite a bold call of Gerrard on Sunday. You could say resting Tav, dropping him, whatever it was. I think afterwards he said he was, we've been over-reliant on Tav for the past, couple of seasons, and you've just really utilising the squad depth. But I thought it was a big call, thought he had a good game. Wondered if that was the case, maybe to give Patterson a bit more of a chance at starting. But to be honest, I would be surprised if he started. I would think that Clark would probably stick with O'Donnell, to be honest.
Which is just absolutely mental. Oh, man, I see that happens. I swear to God, it might just put me off watching Scotland as well.
Going back to what Elaine says about Patterson starting on Sunday, I thought the manager chose his words very carefully after the match on that subject. Just talking about Tav, he could play 50 or 60 games. It's an opportunity. We've got a top quality right back who's a Scotland internationalist sort of thing, But listen, Tav's got a job on to basically cement that position this season, because Nathan Patterson is putting a hell of a pressure on him, and whether he's the captain, whether he's the captain or not. And listen, I love Tav, but Patterson for me is just getting better and better all the time, and I think Tav's going to have to up his game to actually be the right back every week, in my opinion.
I don't want to make this a Tav v Patterson, because we've already done it. 2, it's not a question right now, but Patterson is every time we put right. Jamie, let's talk about it. Right, Jamie, against Hibs, see, apart from obviously Patterson, fantastic cross for the goal. I think you've seen a lot of what Patterson really does still have to improve against Hibs. I don't think he was outstanding. It certainly wasn't his best game in a Rangers shirt. But that to me, and maybe it's too harsh, shout at me and tell me I'm talking shite, but that just still proves to me that Tav is our number one right back, and Patterson still has a lot to learn, which he can behind Tav.
100%, you've nailed it. I think that it wasn't his best game. I know, of course, he set up a goal, but you can just see when he gets that ball, he's a difference to Tav. Tav seems a lot more silkier. Tav will create more goals. I think Patterson will create more havoc, like running at people. Defenders are shitting themselves, they're running backwards. He wants to hit that byline. He's a totally different type. When he matures, though, a different kettle of fish, a monster of a player. But I think he pushes Tav this season, and it's good for Tav because it'll make Tav keep creating, because that's Tav's big thing. If he keeps creating and scoring for us, that's all we want. Next season, there's a massive question to be asked, because I think if Patterson gets a few more game times, I think good pre-season, at the end of this season, he's not going to. He needs to be someone's number one. That's when he might just take over him for me.
But the whole point to us, Elaine, as well is that look, what Gerrard has shown, because that was a massive game on Sunday against Hibs, massive game, especially going into an international break, and he played Patterson. So Patterson's going to get minutes. Patterson's going to get game time. But Tav is, for me anyway, look, Tav's been a phenomenal player for us. He's a fantastic captain. Alan, to not even ask about Goldson, just keep the Goldson chat away. But sorry, Elaine. So Patterson's going to get plenty of game time this season. But what it also means is there isn't the same pressure on Tav to have to be available every week.
Yeah, I think it's crucial though that, and I think Gerrard knows that as well. It's crucial that Patterson does get game time, because obviously there was a bit of speculation in the transfer window that Patterson was leaving, obviously for far less than we personally would all volume. And I think you kind of hit the nail on the head that this coming summer's huge, because as much as Patterson is a Rangers boy and as much as it's his club, at the end of the day, he wants to play football. He'll want to be an internationalist. He'll want to get the top level. And really, he needs to be getting game time. And he's too good not to be. He's too good to be sitting on the bench. So, I mean, Tav's numbers at the moment, past couple of seasons, are just phenomenal. So, I agree with you at the moment. Yeah, Tav's got to be the number one. Big call. And I think every time he's come in, Patterson's done really well under the pressure as well. He's not, he doesn't seem fazed by it at all. That was quite an atmosphere. First 30 minutes before the sending off, the atmosphere was bubbling away. I turned and said, someone's getting sent off here. I thought it'd be one of our boys, but I thought the atmosphere was bubbling, and he dealt with that. So it doesn't look like it phases him. And also, I'm going back a while, but when he came back in after his wee misdemeanor and came on, European game, second half, first touch, scored. He's taken it all in his stride. So as long as he does get game time and Gerrard manages the two of them, I think we're on to a winner.
Look, it's 3 minutes.
Martin, could I just interrupt?
Hold on. Before you come in, I'll let you come in. It's 2 minutes to 8. Now, this podcast is only supposed to go an hour, right? So, Elaine, Cammy, Jamie, message your partners and say you're going to be home late, because I think this is going to run on for a while. Cammy, carry on.
Somebody's popped me a message. See the boy at St Johnstone? You boys are the experts for best of the rest. See the right back at St Johnstone?
Yeah.
Is he in the Scotland squad? He must be like, no, Sean Rooney. No,
Sean Rooney, no.
Is it no?
No, I just
right. I just thought I would ask the question.
Was it Ross Clark by any chance?
Speak to my lawyer.
Well, final point on Patterson and Tav, and then we'll move on. And Cammy, look, unless we sell Tav in the summer because of his age, the two of them will be class for the next few years. So can we not just enjoy the fact that we've got two brilliant right backs?
I think we can enjoy the fact we've got the best two right backs in Scottish football, undoubtedly. But Nathan Patterson needs to play moving forward. And I think Jamie is spot on. I think my worry last season was that Nathan wouldn't get enough game time because Tav's levels last season were so high. But I think come next summer, I think if Patterson's hit 20-25 games this season, I think he's going to be very, very close to being our first choice right back moving forward.
We've seen as Jamie makes so many good points. CGM asks, one has to go at the end of the season, Jamie.
Well, is that a hypothetical? Is that?
It's a point that CGM's made that he thinks that one has to go at the end of the season.
Oh, sorry.
Seeing as you're this fantastic Rangers Rabble pundit who has all the right answers, does one of them have to go at the end of the season?
I don't think so, no. But I think one of them can be phased out over the space of a season, like next season. So that's my answer to that question.
Make that clearer, please. You didn't make that.
Well, I think next season Patterson becomes your number one, and Tav's your number two, and Tav gets lesser games, and then Tav might think, right, okay, I've maybe one last move in me doing it the English Championship before my career's over, to go and play a few more games, because Patterson's going to keep going and going. Unless Patterson comes in at the end of this season, the start of next, and just goes stratospheric, and he's gone by January, 30 million to Man United, then Tav will be back in. But I think, for me, Tav's were best right back. Although I hit Patterson on somebody put a quiz thing on the chat there. I hit Patterson by mistake, by the way. It should have been Tav. For me, Tav's were best right back right now. But Patterson next season's got to be phased in and has to be our number one.
Right, you're making Elaine cry, look. That'd be your absolute talking nonsense. Right, Elaine, Chris Stewart simply says Kamara. Now that leads me on to the next topic of discussion. something that we obviously have to be very, very careful at the way we speak about it and the way we word it, but UEFA have launched an investigation into the Sparta Prague versus Rangers game. What do you expect from this UEFA investigation?
Absolutely nothing.
That's a fantastic podcast answer. Absolutely nothing. Your crap question. Move on.
No, not at all. But I'm not holding my breath for anything. I think that you're right. We have to be careful the way we word it. We all watched the game. We all saw what happened. Drawn our own conclusions. I find it really troubling. I find it really hard to watch. I think that it's awful. I really feel for Kamara. I really do. There's no doubt. And I've listened to some people attempt to justify the reason why it was him that was being booed. Not going to get into that. I think we've all got our own conclusions. The one thing that I would say, just on this, it's slightly off topic, is I think every so often there's people in different teams where you think, you know what, you think really highly of them. You think they're a good guy. I think really highly of Marvin Bartley, Livy. I think he's done a lot of good. I think the abuse that he's taken personally for stand-up, he is just awful, absolutely awful. And I think what he's done this season has been really good. I just think it's a total can of worms. I don't see there being really any meaningful action taken. And I think, unfortunately, at the moment, both the Prague teams, the only meaningful action, the only thing that's going to make people change would be really serious sanctions. And let's face it, that's just not going to come.
Cammy?
UEFA aren't interested. They talk about zero tolerance. You know, this has been going on in Prague since 2005, when they were punished for issues with, it was either Chelsea or Arsenal when they played across there. You know, 16 years on, they get a punishment for a stadium closure, and they're allowed children into the stadium, and we all know what happened. You just go through this cycle. They open an investigation, nothing happens. Lip service paid to it. When you move on to the next situation, it happens again. It's the governing bodies, UEFA and FIFA, have to do far more. It's just not acceptable. And I totally echo what Elaine says. Domestically, I think Marvin Bartley is a credit to himself and exactly the type of person that you want involved in trying to move things forward in this country, you know. But UEFA won't do anything. They're not interested in doing anything.
I'm going to bring up a comment by CGM, but just before I do, the reason why I don't like these type of comments is not because I don't agree, because I do agree. But the minute you say this, it takes away from what you're talking about. You're only saying that because they're in your group and they beat you. Right? Now, CGM puts, just chuck them out the tournament. It's that simple. Jamie, in an ideal world, absolutely, get rid of them. But the minute you say that, people who don't like your club, have a difference of opinion, always jump in the back. Take it away from what you're actually talking about.
Yeah, I agree though. Ban them. That's the best way to deal with it. If UEFA had any bottle about them, then they should be banning the Czech teams for UEFA competitions going forward. Not this season, right? Let this investigation, whatever happen, and then they'll get papped out in the group stage or whatever. Whatever happens from this season, but just say Czech football, or Slavia, Sparta, he's only getting in next season, he's are gone. And then see if that'll make the Czech authorities do something to help change. Because if they don't do anything, the fans are left to do what they want after that. And I think the whole Marvin Bartley thing, I think the big man's been superb. And I think there's deniers and there's sympathisers and there's people who are saying there's no problem in Czech football. Marvin Bartley holds up a wee mirror to them, or holds up 5 or 6 comments he gets. A lot of them from Czech people. I might be wrong, but they look like it. Now they're attacking Marvin Bartley because of his colour, his skin, when all he's doing is trying to say this is what's happening. But they're defeating their own argument by doing it to him. So they're proving themselves to be the problem. So yeah, it's a shame. But ban them.
obviously you don't know if it was Czech people. That's an assumption you're making.
Yes.
You can't say it was because you don't know. But Elaine, do you go along with that? It's like we've got Club at 22, the Rangers podcast. Hello, guys. More chance of Michael Stewart agreeing with a decision that goes in Rangers' favour than UEFA kicking out Sparta. Is that just sadly where we are? That UEFA, they investigate these things, and what was it Cadella got? Was it a 10-game ban?
Yeah, he got a 10-game ban, but that included the international football as well. I think the one thing that was interesting was Fair did speak out on it. And that was interesting because obviously we are all well versed in Fair, given that they attend every one of our games. But they spoke out about it, I'm sure. So maybe that should give us some sort of confidence that they are going to tackle something. But I can't see it coming. I can't see them being chucked out. I think what was really troubling for me was just the fact that so many people really didn't see an issue with it, and so many people did try and make out as if it was something that's not, and that's troubling because actually that's not even necessarily just one football club. I mean, the fact that these two clubs came together, I can't imagine what would happen or what would have to happen to get Rangers, to get Rangers to release a statement to say, absolutely, we back that Celtic statement. Hell would freeze over before the two of us are joining in and stuff like that. And the two clubs are going at it. They're doubling down. They're saying no. I just think it's a whole issue. I think it's probably actually bigger than football. But football means so much to so many people. It would be great to see UEFA take a really strong stand and to really challenge it. But they're not going to.
No. See the thing. Sorry, Martin. I know we could be here until midnight talking about all this sort of stuff.
We could.
See the issue with Fair. I read this in the last couple of days that UEFA and Fair basically aren't talking to each other. So that ITV had basically reported that every single high-risk match this season hasn't had fair representation. So as much as Elaine is spot on that they've covered every Rangers match for the last few years, they're now no longer actually doing it on behalf of UEFA, which it emphasises what I said with regard to they have no interest in actually working with an organisation, rightly or wrongly, to try to eradicate this. And I've sent it to you guys the link, but it's.
I was just looking at the comments made there, and the comments made from Fair after it was the sanction has to be that you're kicked out. There can really be no other consideration, which is fairly damning, and it's fairly it's fairly damning, and it's totally to the point. Whether I think we're all on the same page. We don't think that's what will happen, but it's what should happen. But I found that quite interesting that they came out and said that, although potentially that is because also they've got an agenda, and if they're not getting on with UEFA, maybe it suits them to kind of come out all guns blazing at the moment as well.
Aye. Well, we shall wait and see what that UEFA investigation comes to. I'm not holding my breath. Jamie, finally tonight, I say finally, it's 8:10. My missus is going to kill me. I promised I would help out with the win tonight. There you go. Red zones have been taken away. Hearts are going to get an away support at Ibrox. For me, brilliant.
Yeah, I think it's time, innit? It's time to do it and get the away fans back in for a bit of normality. I mean, I don't know. You can still go with all the Rangers fans, to be honest, but I think a bit of that travelling, what they getting, like 1,000, something like that, wasn't it? That's came out. So I think it's a bit but it's another step towards normality.
That was a very, very short answer, Jamie. What's all that about?
I'm sick talking about COVID and sanctions and red zones. I'm over it. I've said that before.
A step closer to normality, Cammy.
Yeah, and I think it gets. I know a few people that sit in the areas behind the dugouts that have been relocated over the last 5, 6, 7 home games. You know, so for those guys, they can get back to their normal seats. So it's good that there's away fans, but I think more importantly for me, the Rangers fans that have had to be relocated as a result of the red zones can go back and sit in the season ticket seats that they've paid for and sit with their mates and all that sort of stuff, because they've been. I think Rangers have said that they'll offer them some form of compensation as a result of the inconvenience, you know. So I'm pleased that we get a wee bit of normality, and it'll be good. Hearts are going to come through next Saturday with a wee bit of. They're going to fancy their chances, you know, top of the table clash, and I'm looking forward to it.
It just gives it a wee bit extra added spice, Elaine. I mean, with teams like maybe Hearts and Hibs and obviously Celtic, your teams like, I don't know, Livingston, Hamilton, doesn't really make much of a difference. But it just adds that wee bit especially for, like Cam says, a top of the table clash.
Yeah, I think it's brilliant. I think it's been a real shame that fans have been locked out. You know, we've had the season last year where we couldn't go. It's been great for us being back at Ibrox. But I just think away fans, it makes part of the game. I love it. I've got my first away ticket successfully today. St Mirren, my closest other ground. But you know, it's great. It's a huge part of it. And there is a wee bit. I understand with the red zones, and it's not necessarily been our fault or Celtic's fault. But we've still been taking away tickets, and I just think it's the right thing to do. So no, looking forward to it.
And anyways, I think we shall end it on that because I can hear commotion going on and I think somebody's just killed somebody. But listen, thank you to everybody watching. Please do like and subscribe. You've no idea how much it helps when you like these videos on YouTube. Please do like and retweet on Twitter. I don't know if I've mentioned it, but we have a website, rangersrabble.co.uk. You thought I was going somewhere else there, Jamie. Head over there. You can see all our podcast blogs. We've got a dedicated youth page. And I like to say this before the numbers start to come down into my top left hand of my screen, sorry. And of course, if you want more content, where else can they get more content, Jamie?
Patreon. The link's in the description. There's a lot of cracking stuff on there. Some real rubbish as well that me and Martin are on.
And what kind of shows do they get on Patreon, Elaine?
Oh, there's Best of the Rest where me and Martin tried.
Elaine.
Best of the Rest, EPL shows, the Soonest Revolution, there's academy stuff. There's actually a website too, if you don't know about that.
Well done, Elaine.
Although I'd already mentioned the website, which proves that you weren't listening to me in the first place. So there you go. So listen, thank you to everybody watching. So really, really, really appreciate it. And thank you to Elaine, Cammy. What are you laughing at, Cammy? You missed all of that.
Oh, look at that last comment from
The
Em.
last comment.
Give the BOG a couple of... Oh, right, there you go. See, that's how far
The
away
BOG.
It's the bog. Anyway, listen, thank you everybody for watching. I don't know exactly when we'll be back. I might just throw something out there and annoy everybody because I've told them all they've got a wee holiday now, but we'll wait and see. But anyways, thank you for watching. We will speak to you very, very soon.